Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where the rooftops turn against us because this week we watched Exit Wounds,
Written by Chris Chibnall.
directed by Ashley Way.
And aired on April 4th, 2008.
I have absolutely no explanation for why I pronounced Exit Wounds like I did. Exit Wounds.
Exit Wounds.
Exit Wounds. Wounds doesn't sound like a word anymore. Wounds.
It never
wounds.
did.
Wounds is a weird word when you think about it. Oh, God. Wounds.
Yeah, it sounds like really, like, Germanic, like Northern European.
Captain Wounds. Just like Lord Humongous. Mad Max.
Yeah, from Mad Max.
Or Immortan Joe. He's the main villain of the fourth one, which you haven't seen, Keon, presumably.
No, I haven't. I've heard it's the best one.
It is, by far. But anyway.
That's neither here nor there. Actually, I take that back. It is there. And by there, I mean will be on Triple Play, a movie trilogy podcast. Check
Probably like 8 months from now.
Yeah.
This is some exposition master Vito Corleone referencing we're doing here, referencing it 8 months before it went out. I like, actually, the like exposition master Vito Corleone joke went through the entire cycle of being a reference, being a dead horse, and then never being said again before the episode we originated the joke in actually got aired.
Yeah. He was, though. He was a master of exposition.
I want to see. This is neither here nor there, but I want to see Coppola's re-edit of The Godfather Part 3 to see if it is actually any better. Maybe I'll write a blog post about it one day if I ever get to see it. Guess we'll see. Check out the blog. The first blog would have gone up 2 days ago.
So how about that Torchwood Season 2 finale?
Well, so I knew going in that Owen was dying in this episode. I knew that Owen didn't make it out of season 2, so I knew he was done for good in this episode. Tosh, I didn't know about. That was a surprise. To me.
Yeah, that was sort of a shot to the gut there, with Tosh dying.
So back to the time someone punched me in the gut in high school, and I could not catch my breath for a solid minute.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to get that out in front in case people are like, "Man, Dylan Dylan doesn't sound so shocked." God, say that 5 times fast. That Owen is dead.
No, and I knew about both of these deaths going in, largely because of a Twitter account that has spoiled like everything in Torchwood for me. So it's, not throwing shade here in any way, but like the account, I'll even name them. The account is called TARDIS Team with 2 S's in TARDIS, and they're doing like a Torchwood watch through on Twitter or something. And they're like 1 week ahead of us. And every time I log in, despite the fact that I never interact with their tweets, like I just see the spoilers.
That sucks.
No shade. I'm not like angry about it or anything, but I don't know, it's just kind of funny. Like they're literally 1 week ahead of us.
It's like how this is the freaking dumbest thing I've ever seen. Is that so both Star Wars and Star Trek are airing new series at this time right now, and I go on Twitter, and guess which one of the two just gets actively spoiled for me every time I'm on Twitter? If you guessed The Mandalorian, you're right. I've watched none of Season 2, and I know every major plot beat. I think it's just honestly a fault of the Twitter algorithm pushing posts that are most interacted with related to the accounts you follow to the top of your timeline, which typically relates to things that are spoilers because people want to talk about it, so Twitter pushes it to the top of your timeline. And unlike Reddit, which Reddit's not a great platform, but to Reddit's credit, they have the ability to mark a post as a spoiler, which will automatically hide the text unless you actively open the text box. Twitter doesn't have that, so Not that Torchwood needs that because it's a 12-year-old show at this point. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever.
Yeah, so it's going to get even worse for you because we're going to fall 2 weeks behind that account in 2 weeks because in place of our regularly scheduled Torchwood episode, which is actually, 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from when this episode goes out, I mean, we're going to put out the episode on Revolution of the Daleks instead because it'll air 2 days before our episodes normally go out, and we're going to pull a gauntlet of podcasting engineering to put an episode together in 48 hours or 36 hours.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. I don't really care about spoilers, to be perfectly honest. Despite the fact that I was the one who, brought it up.
Well, also, like, we've talked about this before, but a lot of times spoilers without context are, like, completely meaningless because you don't have the execution.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that Tosh and Owen died, but, like, that didn't ruin anything for me. I didn't know how they died. I didn't know, like, what this was all going to be about, so...
Well, turns out they found a way to kill Owen, even though he can't die or he can't live.
This episode starts with it starts exactly where the last one left off. That's something I want to touch on at the end, like, because by the time I got to the middle of this episode, I was thinking, like, man, if it was up to me, I would have structured this completely differently just to make it a lot more confusing. But yeah, I mean, it starts right where the last one left off.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally... We get a small recap with the bombs going off, people surviving, and then we pick up with PC Andy calling Gwen, being like, yo, 4 high-ranking members of our government just got assassinated right now.
Yeah, or it wasn't the government, I thought it was the police.
Yeah, 4 high-ranking members of something related to PC Andy.
Yeah. So, I mean, they get called in. Gwen brings Reese along. And they're picking up rift activity all throughout Cardiff. So Owen goes to investigate something, and so do Tosh and Ianto.
Yeah. Let me see if I have it written down here. No. I believe Owen gets sent to the hospital to go help with something, and Tosh and Ianto get sent to... I genuinely don't remember where Tosh and Ianto get sent.
Yeah, I don't remember either. It's not really that important, though, because we get the snippets of what they're doing, and Owen is trying to control this creature or contain it or capture it or whatever, called a Hoix that eats anything. And Ianto and Tosh are confronted by, like, these Grim Reaper looking things, which they just, like, shoot Indiana Jones style, where the guy's, like, twirling the sword and then Indiana Jones just shrugs and shoots him.
Why wouldn't you do that, though? Like, if you see someone coming at you with a sword and you have guns at your disposal, like, what self-respecting gun owner wouldn't?
Oh, what's that meme? Guess I'll die or something like that?
Guess I'll die.
Yeah, that's when you pull out your complimentary Desert Eagle and...
Your complimentary Deagle.
Is that
your sawed-off shotgun, the gun you keep in your boot.
Yeah, that's when you flash your whatever it's your permit to carry or whatever it's called.
Yeah, your license to carry.
And pulled out your sawed-off shotgun.
This license gives me the ability to carry any gun, including this assault rifle, this MR-15 assault. I don't think the MR-15 is an actual rifle, but anyway.
AR-15, yeah, or like
AR-15, yeah, that's the one.
Pull out a minigun.
Pull out a Gatling. Just a full wind-up Gatling gun. You start cranking it by hand.
Yeah, like an 1800. Like, did you see that? It wasn't a meme, but it was just like this viral thing. I think it was like a month ago where it was some police department that was celebrating this win online of like an illegal gun they confiscated, but it looked like it was from 1735.
We confiscated this gun from the founding of America. This flintlock pistol.
I think that's what it was, or at least looked like it. But anyway, Jack also goes to investigate, and lo and behold, he meets the man behind it all, John Hart.
Yeah, so he says he's going back to the hub because he knows John's going to be there, and he's the only one who can control John. Mm-hmm. And he gets there. John is like, it's going to get... Well, he says, I love you. And Jack's like, cut the crap. What's happening? And he goes, no, really, I love you. And then he brutally murders Jack with a machine gun. And he goes, because what's about to happen is going to be nasty. And I was like, ooh, John's got some sort of evil scheme up his sleeve. But it turns out it's not.
Yeah. This is the point in the episode where we get what we explained before, which is Owen confronting the Hoyks and Tosh and Ianto. But then, you cut back to the Torchwood hub, and Jack is sort of tied up Adric style, if you'll remember back to Castrovalva.
God, that's a deep cut. What where's the fetish bondage gear? Where's the weird star that he's attached to? Come on, if you're gonna go for the Castrovalva reference, you got to go all the way. You can't half-ass it.
Well, if you remember, also Matthew Waterhouse was the first openly gay Doctor Who actor, and John Barrowman, I believe, is also gay. So there you go.
So is Russell T.
Yeah, but he wasn't an actor, and he didn't get tied up by by the arch nemesis of the show, which in Doctor Who is Master.
We don't know. I guess we don't know.
We don't know if Russell T was like was tied up by the Master. I think we know that that didn't happen. I think it's safe to say.
So Gray is basically like, look, I never forgave you for this mistake we made as kids. That was, in reality, not really your fault, but I never forgave you because I got tortured. Yeah, Gray. Gray says to Jack, I never forgave you.
At this point in the episode?
Yeah.
Via like...
right after the title sequence, we meet Gray.
I don't remember that, but okay.
In Cardiff, 27 AD.
Right. Yeah, he gets sent back. All right. That's the part.
That was the thing. John killed Jack so that it would knock him out, and then they time traveled back in time.
Yeah, so they're in this field, Cardiff, 27 AD, and then Gray says what he says, and he's there. And I don't know about you. This is something I want to touch more on at the end, but let's just ask the question here. Did you think this was actually Gray?
Yes.
Huh. Okay, I thought for sure there was going to be some twist where it's like it wasn't actually Gray, and I was holding out on that until the end.
I was too blindsided by the revelation that John Hart wasn't like actually a really interesting villain to think about Gray not even being Gray. I guess I think that just would have been too much. Like, we already revealed that John's not actually the villain of the episode, it's Gray. So then, to then additionally on top of that reveal that Gray's not even Jack's brother, it's someone pretending to be Gray, would be like one too many man behind the curtains kind of thing.
Yeah, not only that, I thought they were also going to reveal that it was actually John Hart behind it all, and that he was just manipulating this non-Gray into, pretending that he was manipulating Hart.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's where my mind was for this entire thing.
That's some like, what is it? It's a movie with a whole bunch of famous detectives,
No idea.
and it's like kind of a parody, and I'm completely forgetting what it's called now. That's a little sad. Oh, Murder by Death. That's some Murder by Death plotting right there.
Right?
Not just like actually, not to spoil the ending or anything, but just like that whole thing you just described is like Murder by Death. Also, Murder by Death features one of the very few, like 3 or 4 acting performances by Truman Capote. Fun fact.
Huh.
Very funny movie. Very well done. Anyway, so Gray's just basically like, look, I did all of this to just get back at you, Jack. Like, and now I'm gonna bury you alive for 2,000 years.
Right. Because Gray kind of goes into his backstory here. We know that he was captured by the creatures, and, Jack spent however long looking for him. But he reveals here that he was tortured for years and kept imprisoned for years, and that he always held out hope that Jack would come and save him, but he never did, which eventually turned him, into the bitter person and vengeful person that he is in the episode.
Not for lack of trying on Jack's part.
Yeah, Jack did try for years, so he claimed, and there's no real reason to disbelieve him, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, Gray, he even tells Gray that, and I think Gray just says, like, I don't care, or something to that effect.
Gray is, you would say, morally gray.
Morally gray.
I like how you laughed before I even said it because you knew exactly where I was going with that.
Yeah, 50 Shades, all contained in 48 minutes.
Great. Thanks for bringing us back to a conversation we had before recording about 50 Shades of Grey.
More than one shade per minute.
Great!
God.
So, I guess John explained to Grey that Jack was immortal, but the plan is Grey's plan, which kind of sucks if you think about it, but we'll look over that for the moment because I want to talk about it at the end. Is to bury Jack underneath where Cardiff would eventually be founded.
Right.
And here's the other thing. They don't even put him in a coffin or anything. They just literally just throw dirt on him. Makes me wonder why Jack didn't spend the next 2,000 years slowly inching his way upwards every time he died. But anyway. And then Gray's just going to leave Jack in the hole forever.
Yeah, and I think he has some line or something, I forget exactly what it is, but he says, like, and your countless deaths will become, like, part of the foundation of this city that, like, you swore to protect, but its entire foundation will have, like, your death at its base type thing. Which is, it's all right. I mean, it sounds pretty evil. It's like, doesn't really want, it's yeah, I don't know. It just sounds really evil, which is why it's like cool, but yeah.
It is really evil, but it's also like, as far as evil plans go, it's not very ambitious. Not like he wants to take over the world or anything. He's just like, just really want to bury Jack.
Yeah, he just wants to get back at his brother. Just wants to commit a bit of fratricide there,
And he succeeds.
Yeah. Because Jack, it works. Jack is buried for, like, almost 2,000 years.
Yeah, he gets dug up by everybody's favorite Torchwood member. No, I'm just kidding. Alice Guppy.
What were you? Oh, were you going to say Ianto?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was dug up by Alice Guppy, who appeared in fragments as one of the people who recruited Jack to Torchwood.
Right.
And she's like, guess what? She detects... Okay, let's actually explain this legitimately. John Hart throws a ring into the grave with Jack. Gray's like, what is that? John's like, that's a ring. It's got sentimental value. Turns out the ring's got some sort of tracker on it. We don't actually find out that Jack is discovered by Alice just yet. We just know that the current day Torchwood team cannot find Jack because they can't find the uh, isotope that's being emitted from John Hart's ring that he claims should be there. So they're a little suspect of that.
Right, and while all this is happening, there's like this Weevil outbreak. Um, Gwen sort of, I don't know, rallies the troops or something. She gathers all the people at the police station and gives this speech.
Yeah, there's an outbreak because we should mention Gray has broken into Torchwood.
Yeah, and we the explosions throughout the city that we forgot to mention. I'm just looking at my notes, are causing havoc. So Owen goes to this nuclear power plant to solve the problems that the explosions have caused there.
Yeah, it's going to go super critical and just wipe everyone out.
Yeah, I had no idea that there was like a nuclear power plant like right, in Cardiff, I guess.
Neither did I.
I mean,
Neither did I.
yeah, wow. Yeah.
That was the biggest surprise of this whole episode.
Yeah, maybe that's not like real, Maybe they just made it up for the show. I guess I'll have to look it up and put it in the show notes. I preemptively hear you, future me, cursing at me from now for saying that.
Future Keon's like, damn, past Keon giving me more work to do.
Yeah, well, turns out Owen has a lot of work to do as well because there's a lot of steps he needs to take to get the plant back to a safe condition. Really sort of a biting commentary here on the nature of nuclear power and how we shouldn't have, ever harnessed it in the first place because, you never know who might, like, travel through time, try and get revenge against their estranged brother and cause problems like this. You never know.
I guess. I guess.
Anyway, Owen convinces the person there to leave, and he starts to try and fix the problem, while getting instruction from Tosh over the radio or communicator.
Yeah, because Tasha's hacked into the reactor's control room, I guess, and is giving him directions. She's back in the hub because her and Ianto capture some weevils on the street and bring them in to the hub, which then Gwen, Ianto, and John go to put in their cells, only for them to become trapped in their cells because that was the most obvious trap in existence. Gwen leaves Reese with PC Andy at the police station to help handle the weevil infestation that's trying to get into the police station.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the reason why Owen is the one who goes to the power plant is because Tosh and Ianto are at the hub and they want to go, but the weevils are in the way, and Owen's like, I got this. I'm king of the weevils, remember? And the weevils all bow as he runs past them.
Right. While all this is happening, or slightly before it, Gwen also confronts John Hart, who shows back up at the hub. And he explained this to Jack, but he explains it in more detail here, which is that Gray was able to use him because he implanted explosive device in his wrist,
Mm-hmm.
which he promised John Hart that he'd be able to take it off once he helped him bury Jack, which he does now. He rips it out of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
which looked incredibly painful.
And this is when Gray does what he does. He comes to the hub and locks everyone up.
And he wonders why John Hart came back. He's like, you could have gone anywhere. Like, why? Why come back? And he's like, well, had to do it.
A friend in need's a friend indeed, Gray.
What?
He came back to, help his friends in need. The Torchwood team.
Yeah, those are his friends.
Doesn't seem to have anyone else to, bother. Except Jack and
You know,
vicariously the people Jack is friends, quote unquote, with.
the time agency.
Yeah. Well, okay, so Gray goes into the Torchwood morgue and Jack is there. And he's like, no, this isn't possible. How are you here?
Yeah, because they hear some knocking. They hear the four knocks. This
Oh my
episode,
god.
if this episode is very much the proto end of time. Uh, you know, we hear the four knocks.
And it's the midnight creature. Didn't the midnight thing knock thrice in midnight?
I don't know. I just know that, like, in the end of time, death comes from the four knocks. It's got Owen dying by radiation, just like the 10th Doctor. It's got Owen yelling about how this isn't fair. It's got the main villain of the show having a plan to bring back a bigger villain question mark of the show, who then like doesn't really do anything that bad.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
I have a note that says, "Lol, you fucking idiots." But I don't know what it refers to. I think it refers to them getting locked into the cages.
Right.
So they're trying to contact Tosh, but their comms are out. And before Jack actually escapes, let's not forget that Tosh is just standing there helping Owen and just gets shot in the stomach. Just gets completely shot.
Yeah, he just walks up behind her and shoots her and then just leaves. Not permanently, but he's like, my work here is done. It was Tosh he was after the entire time.
This is interesting because it seems like the Torchwood team has been all but immune to bullets in previous episodes.
Yeah, friggin' Owen lived through what? 2 bullets? And the third one killed him, I guess.
Yeah, well, sort of. He came back,
Yeah.
thanks to the glove.
Yeah. But no, Tosh isn't making it out of this alive.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess it is unfortunate. She's hell bent on helping Owen though, because she doesn't leave her post. She just like anesthetizes herself, just stabs herself, with whatever. Keeps going as she's bleeding out on the floor.
Yeah. Well, she crawls all the way down into the medical area to get, because Gray chucks the communicator out of her reach.
Right, and Owen. This is a very Owen moment where he goes like, you sound a little like out of breath, Tosh. Like, are you okay? And she's just like, yes. Oh,
Yes,
fine.
fine. Literally dying, but I'm okay.
Owen's like, huh, all right then.
I mean, to be fair to Owen, like, it's not like he's there to see the damage,
No, yeah, of course. So she keeps instructing him, but things go wrong, and he eventually gets locked in.
Oh no. Well, it is a little bit of an oh no, because at first he's like, well, I'll get out somehow, like, right? And she's like, no, the room's gonna get flooded with radiation pretty soon. And he's like, wait, what? And then he starts screaming, not like this, not like this.
Yeah, he starts having a little bit of a meltdown, throwing a little bit of a tantrum. And Tosh starts crying. She's like, no, don't do this, Owen. Because she knows she's about to die. Owen doesn't know she's about to die.
Owen knows he's about to die, though.
Yeah, because she tells him that the room is going to be flooded with radioactive coolant or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's a goner. He's a dead man, no longer walking.
Yeah, which and they explain why, and it's because the radiation will literally like melt his body basically.
Yeah.
To nothingness.
And Tosh and Tosh die at the same time. They have this heartfelt conversation about how they never got together. With Owen dropping the bombshell that he never noticed until it was too late.
Mm-hmm. Damn, hit you right in the feels. A little bit, actually, though. I'm not being facetious.
Yeah, this was a bit of an emotional moment. I thought
It's
for
rough.
sure, yeah. I thought for sure until now that Owen was just purposely ignoring Tosh, but I guess he, he didn't know.
He was a blind fool.
And he implies here that like he would have gone with Tosh if he knew, which is like really
Hmm.
weird. But yeah, that's I guess besides the point since they're both dying.
And Jack is run. Well, Jack sees Gray. He meets up with Gray, and he's like, "I forgive you." And Gray's like, "What?" And he's like, "I've given you your penance. Now you give me mine." And Gray's like, "No, I'm never gonna do that. Literally, I hate you." And Jack's just like, "All right," and hugs him, but in the process, just stuffs his face in a rag filled with, I don't know, chloroform, I
Yeah,
guess.
something to kill him. And he cradles Gray in his arms as he dies.
I don't think Gray's actually dead because they put him in the morgue later, and John makes a
They
comment
freeze
about
him.
unfreezing
Yeah,
him
that's true.
later
That's
on.
true. Yeah, they just freeze him and put him in the morgue.
Because I thought he was dead too until John said the comment like, "So what's the plan? You put him in the morgue and freeze him for 100 years, and then you unfreeze him, and he's magically okay."
Yeah, it's a pretty bad plan because if you remember what happened with
What,
yeah,
Tommy?
Tommy, he didn't really experience the freezing from his perspective. He just, woke up and it was, however many years later, 10 or whatever it was. So, when Gray wakes up, he'll, unless, this confrontation with Jack, was enough to change his mind, he'll just still in that moment.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's actually the plan. I think Jack just basically says like, "Shut up, John. Like you don't know anything."
To be perfectly honest, I don't think we're going to hear about Gray like ever again.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think Gray will be a just a memory on in the wind.
Yeah.
Oh well. I mean, I'm not really torn up about it,
No,
honestly.
neither am I. Gray was like a really lame villain and subplot, which we'll get into in just a minute because there's still something left in the episode that I thought was a lot more effective than anything between Jack and Gray, which is that Tosh left a message for the team to be played after her death.
Yeah.
Which,
In which she clearly assumes that Owen has outlived her, which
yeah,
oof.
I mean, depending on when I don't think we know when she recorded it, right? So she may have even recorded it after already knowing that Owen couldn't die. Or slash was what like immortal or whatever state he is in.
Yeah,
So, but it's
possibly. Yeah, yeah.
it's a pretty heartfelt message. She just tells the team that she loves them, and
Owen never got one of those.
yeah, I mean, I thought it worked out. I thought it worked though because like we knew Owen was we had a lot more with Owen than we ever did with Tosh, and it also Tosh. It comes full circle here because Tosh was, never the most sociable person, and she could never express her feelings to the team. She had to do it behind this camera, and it was
Mm-hmm.
already it was too late. This sort of, she could never say what she really actually felt while she was alive.
And then it ends.
Yeah, Gwen says she doesn't think she'll be able to take it, and Jack is like, I forget what he says. Like, you will, you'll be able to handle it.
He says the. He says, I wrote down the line. The end is where we start from.
Yeah,
The Amazon X-ray fun fact of the week we completely skipped over because I didn't denote it very well in my notes. But after Tosh gets shot, the fun fact was that all the guns used on set were actually just air pistols.
oh man, I thought they actually shot Naoko Mori. Damn it.
A true, a, tr- a truly dedicated performer.
Yeah. method acting. You know, if you really have to method act deaths to really get them, you really actually have to die in order to get it right on screen. God, well, this turned morbid quick.
Yeah, but yeah, wow, this went dark fast.
So, I have quite a bit to talk about here, and I know you do as well. So, and we touched on some of it already or hinted at it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think one of the few things this episode uh, does, I guess, I don't want to say it fails in doing it, like, but it does, like, I would do differently is like, I don't know, I would make it a lot less linear and a lot more confusing. And I think it would be more enjoyable that way, for me at least. Like, I don't know, I was just kind of thinking of different ways to structure it, and I personally, I would put a scene at the very beginning. Forget resolving the cliffhanger from last week. That can just be thrown in the trash. I would just open the episode with like a cold open thing of like Torchwood, you know, 19 whatever, detecting the radiation and just being like, what the hell? Like, what is this? And this can be like a couple minutes, right? And then they just dig up where they're detecting the radiation from, and it's Jack, and you're like, whoa, what? And then you go into everything else. That's what I would do.
Yeah, that might work. That might work. I mean, I don't know if necessarily making this episode more non-linear or making it more confusing would make it any better, because I think to me the problems with the episode stem a little deeper than that. That it's the villain is really underwhelming. Like John Hart wasn't the greatest villain we've ever seen, but he was established in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang to be competent and somewhat threatening to the Torchwood team, because he did succeed in basically almost killing all four of them in that episode. All four of the people who could be killed at the time. But then in this episode, to just reveal that, psych, you thought John Hart was in this episode to kill everyone?
Yeah, it
Psych!
was actually great. And Gray, like, not only the character, but the entire Gray subplot, I think, it was just kind of lame.
Well, the other thing is that it's basically, and this is why it confuses me that they found it necessary to reveal the existence of Gray as the mastermind, is that Gray's motivation for hurting Jack is very similar to John's. In Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, John's motivation was like, you left me at the time agency. We were in love. We had a good thing going, and you left. And everything went, to pot after you left. And that's not too dissimilar from Gray basically being like, you let go of my hand, and after you left, I got tortured for the rest of my life, and I
Yeah,
blame
so
you.
I thought this episode kind of recontextualized Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I thought that was also Gray's doing. I don't know if we know whether that's the case, but I thought that was also just kind of Gray using John Hart to mess with everyone.
Maybe. We don't have any evidence for that, and in the absence of evidence to that fact, I would assume that this was supposed to be like a redemption moment for John, where he is revealed to be a good guy. Actually, he's actually not bad. He's got a good heart.
But yeah,
Oops,
the
that was
one thing that kind of made
unintentional.
me think that is like that episode ends with him going, "I know where Gray is," or "Gray's alive," or whatever he says at the end. He mentions Gray at the end, and
Yeah.
in this episode he says like he talks about how he met Gray and rescued him and stuff, and Gray eventually started manipulating him. So we don't know like how the timelines add up there. I guess whether he was being used by Gray by that point or not. I guess we just don't know. But
Yeah. There's no evidence either way. And on that topic, like as I kind of alluded to earlier, Gray's plan kind of sucks. Like what we see of it is ill-defined. Like he just wants to bury Jack for, I don't know, all eternity, question mark. But then there's not really a justification given in the episode, unless I missed it, for why Gray goes back to the hub, back to present day, to where the team is, to do something. It's not clear, one, what he's doing there, or two, why he goes there. Like, he's done what he wanted to do. He buried Jack. And he made no indication at any point that he wanted to hurt the Torchwood team, that he disliked them.
I
He's
think
never
he just
even
did it
met any
because
of
he knew
them.
John Hart was going to help them find Jack and rescue him. He didn't want that to happen, so he went there to like stop that from happening. Pretty sure that's why he did it.
I guess, but he seems surprised to see John there, which is why I
He,
am probably on the side of
I don't
not
think he was
agreeing
surprised
with
because he
that.
says he's like, you could have gone anywhere and you came back here, you jerk, or whatever that line was there when he kind of ambushes them. But I mean, I don't know. I think the thing runs even deeper than that too, and that like for me it was like Gray's. I don't want to use this word, but I'm gonna have to. Like Gray's motivation was just like, I don't know, lame as hell. Like him blaming Jack. I don't know. There's just I felt that like maybe there should have been something more to like really put yourself in Gray's shoes because yeah I can see that he thought his brother would come and rescue him, but like hell even just put a scene where like Gray breaks down because he's very like emotionless and I guess it makes sense because he was tortured in the dark for however long, but like yeah I don't know, just like give us something with Gray, give us something to let us put ourselves in Gray's shoes. Uh,
Yeah, and that's why it feels weird to me that we transcribed the villain of the episode from being John Hart to Gray, because we had all of that established with John in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Like, the show had already done the legwork to set up John's motivation, whatever, his uh, character, let's say. Like, we already had John Hart established. At the end of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, he leaves and he basically says, like, you've beat me, but I'm going to be back to get back at you.
Yeah, there's definitely a bigger emotional weight behind like this being John Hart's plan, I think, than Gray's, and that's kind of I think probably why I up until the very end was thinking that it was actually John. There was going to be a twist and that it was actually going to be John, but no, it wasn't.
And I don't know, that choice to me is just baffling and doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I don't
hey,
know.
I already talked about how I think this is the proto end of time, which brings me to something interesting, which is that the Torchwood show seems to be being used as kind of a staging ground for ideas that would later get introduced or incorporated into the main show. The main show being Doctor Who, and I kind of am starting to realize that it's you can kind of feel the lack of this spin-off show in the Moffat and Chibnall era, because you look back at the Russell T era and it always felt like the ideas were fleshed out in some way before they were brought to screen. And in the Moffat era, that's not necessarily not true, but there are definitely more episodes that feel hastily put together than, say, in the Russell T era, and same with the Chris Chibnall era. And I think part of that is because Russell T had this spin-off show where he could try out new things and experiment with things. Same for Chris Chibnall. I think his episodes on the show are a little more polished than perhaps Moffat's were, and I think part of that, again, is that he was able to basically test run, so to speak, a lot of the ideas he was going to put in the show later on in this. And that's why, like, Moffat's best episodes are the ones that were, like, either related to, say, like Curse of the Fatal Death, or things he had written before for the show, like Blink, which he had written before as the short story, How I Spent My Christmas Vacation with Sally Sparrow. I don't know. Like, the lack of this medium for the writers to experiment and flesh out their stories, I think, is a I'm starting to
I
realize might be
guess,
a bit of a
but
detriment.
also remember that Moffat just likes wild stuff, and like that's both his like that's both an immense strength of his, and also like often his downfall is that he just likes really wild rides.
Yeah, okay, sure. That's I don't disagree with that. I just think that the show would benefit from having a medium in which the writers or the uh, showrunners can experiment with ideas before they really flesh them out
Sure, and
in
I guess Doctor Who
Doctor
is big
Who.
enough a show to have that and to have had that. So
Yeah.
I think I touched on everything that I wanted to kind of cover.
Let me just skim my notes. Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to touch on. But we should do. It's been literally ages since we've done one of these,
Yeah,
but it's time
true
to do some
enough.
retrospectives. We need to get prepared. We're going to have to do more in just a few
Oh yeah,
weeks.
yeah.
So,
Ryan and Graham.
so which one do you want to start with, Tosh or
I
Owen?
don't. Tosh, why not?
All right, it was Tosh retrospective. I think Tosh has. I think Tosh came into the show without necessarily a clearly defined character. We knew that she was the person on the computer, but we didn't know anything about her life. We didn't know why she was there. We didn't know why she did what she wanted to do. And I think over the course of the show, as she grew into the role, I started to like Tosh a lot more. I don't know if I'd say she's my favorite, but I definitely think that she's up there in like my top three, probably.
I mean, there's only five of
Well,
them.
six if you count Reese, seven if you include PC Andy.
Okay.
She's in my top three. It's like Jack, Owen, and her are like my top three. Spoilers, I
Wow.
guess.
Wow. Putting Jack in your top. Okay. All right.
Yeah, you would put what? You would put
No, I
Ianto.
would put my top three as Gwen in no particular order. Gwen, Owen, and Tosh. Yeah, that's right.
Gwen.
Yep.
Gwen. What? What? I, I don't see. The thing is, like, and this goes with the Tosh retrospective, like, I think if Gwen was killed in this episode, I wouldn't feel anything. Not that I felt like overwhelming melancholy at the loss of Tosh as a character, but I was like sad for all the things that we won't get from Tosh coming up. Whereas with Gwen, like, if she died, I would be like, okay, Gwen had a complete and satisfying story over season one. She basically became a background character in her own show in season two.
Yeah. I mean, gosh. I mean, I don't know. I hate to come at this story from this angle, but like, yeah, I guess there's more they could have done with Tosh, but like, I mean, I don't know. That's not, like, her death is her death, right? It's like, you know,
Her death is her death. Thank you. Thank you.
well, I don't know. I mean, it's just like, it means something. It means a lot, I think, that she died. So I don't want to discount any of that, all of that, or any of it with saying, like, yeah, there's more they could have done. Like, she should have stayed around. Her death was like this moment, I think, for the show, too, with especially with her video expressing, like, what she never could in life. That's what this was all kind of leading up to, what this sort of character was.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess, like, contrast that with Owen, who felt like ever since they brought him back from the dead, they didn't really know what what to do with Owen.
Mm-hmm.
And so his death comes as less of a shock, let's say, than Tasha's in this episode. Because from an out of universe standpoint, it seemed like the show was a little confused as to what to do with Owen now that he had him around. And I'm just gonna say it. I kind of think that Owen's first death was more impactful. I think the impact in this scene, in this episode, comes from the fact that Tasha's also dying and they're talking about their missed opportunities together and the combination of those two.
Yeah, just talking through this now, this is definitely Tasha's moment more than Owen's. Even Owen's actions, I think, are sort of punctuate Tasha's death more than really say anything about his own here, I guess. Because, I think it was Alex who commented a couple weeks ago comparing Owen and Jack, how Jack can't die and Owen can't live. But really, now I feel that that's almost the same with Tosh in place of Jack. Like, Owen was this guy who I guess was all about, like, he was all about, like, the, material and pleasure and stuff. And, he was this guy who, for whom, like, life was everything. But yet now we see with Tosh that, like, she could only really express herself in death. She couldn't do it in life. And I don't know, kind of hits home.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of say that, like, or that's why I kind of think now talking through it that, like, Owen throwing this tantrum or whatever he does at the end is, yeah, I mean, it's understandable, of course, but, like, it's more there for Tosh's sake, or the sake of Tosh's character, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, Owen even makes light of this in the moment where he's like, "You've always been the one saving me, Tosh. Like, you're always the one who gets me out of the bad scrapes. And I wouldn't have been able to do any of this, like, without you."
Yeah. Almost, I mean, yeah, I didn't even think of that until now, but it almost kind of rings, like, in this really weird way, too, of, like, to totally kind of distance from what we were talking about before, like, rings in this really weird way of, like, Owen validating Tosh at the end when he was nothing but, like, a total dickwad to her the entire time. Which is like...
Well, until he died the first time.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. now that you put it that way, yeah.
I mean, I liked Owen's character growth over the show. I liked that when he was introduced, he was kind of a little bit of a misogynist. He was a D-bag. He slept with anything that walked. And through the second season especially, he came to learn the value of friendship. I don't know. I don't want to sound cheesy. He just learned how to not... he you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
A slightly better person. Like, just slightly, though. Like,
yes.
he was a way better person before he joined Torchwood.
he regained some of his humanity.
Yeah, only by, losing it, I guess. Literally, like, figuratively and literally. So you kind of see that, I guess, with his death. I think sort of symbolic about that. Like, he's gone so far that, like, he is not even, like, human anymore. He's something. He's just this thing brought back from the dead. But, he kind of regains some of his former self, I guess. Kind of. Not really, but kind of.
Well, it's the question of, like, humanity and how do you define what humanity is? And the question is, like, do you have to have a pulse to be human, or can you just be a conscious being? And that's kind of what they explored with Owen, and that's why it's interesting that when Owen died, he became more human, or more feeling, let's say, more empathetic than he ever was when he was alive at Torchwood specifically.
Yeah, and it's like, we gave the show crap for, like, mentioning Diane, whom he knew for, like what was, like, a week or something, right? So, but, like, in that sense, like, it wasn't, the fact that he would, go out and get drunk every night or, sleep with a different woman every night. It was the fact that, like, he actually cared about someone like Diane, and in the end, even Tosh and, and the rest of the team that really, made him, I guess, human and alive or whatever. It wasn't, just the sort of. And we got that too with the scene where he goes out to the bar and he's just like, "What the hell is like? What is this?" Like, yeah,
Like, what
we
do I
kind
do
of he's
now?
lost what he had before, but it's still okay, I guess? Question mark. I don't know.
I mean, looking back on it, I think we were a little unfair about how much he mentioned Diane, because if you think about it, like, looking back on it, probably, and maybe this is like a retroactive justification, but I'm fine with that. He probably mentioned Diane so much because Diane was the first real connection to people, real connection outside of Torchwood that he had in 4
Yeah.
years. And like at the time, we didn't know that. At the time, we didn't know he'd been working at Torchwood for 4 years, basically being a whatever he was before that moment for 4 years because his fiance forgot who he was and then died. Like, that would mess anyone up. So it was probably incredibly actually impactful for him to feel a connection with someone, however brief, because he hadn't had that in so long,
Yeah.
So, Godspeed, Owen, going off into the gentle darkness where all the other Doctor Who companions who died went, like Adric. And just to end the retrospective, from my point of view, I don't know how much more
None.
you have to say on it, but for me, I'm going to miss having Tosh and Owen around. I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to miss having Tosh and Owen around.
Well, I'm gonna miss Owen's wildcard moments and Tosh's tech. To be perfectly honest, that's what I'm gonna miss the most.
Assuming they replace them on the Torchwood team, we're going to have to come up with some new segments.
Yeah, I know there's gonna be new characters, but that has not been spoiled for me. I don't really know anything about the new people who are about to
Yeah,
come in.
neither do I. I just know Peter Capaldi's in the next season.
Heck yeah. Well, speaking of Owen's wildcard moments and Tosh's tech moments, what were
Let's
yeah.
let's send them off into the darkness with one final installment.
I guess my Owen wildcard moment of the week would be him just screaming at the top of his lungs.
Mine is in the same scene. Mine is him admitting that he just never noticed, like, soon enough
Yeah.
that Tosh was into him.
Yeah, that was such a weird moment because for this entire time it had been telegraphed that he did know and was just like not interested at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe he was just saying that to like maybe he did somehow know that Tosh was dying or had a feeling that she was based on her like, speech pattern slowly becoming more and more concerning. And he just said that to like to give her something to grasp onto as she died, which is another like really weird and like but maybe not.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so either now having said that.
Having said that out loud, actually, I realize it was a dumb idea.
Tasha's tech this week I think is obvious. She only does one tech thing, which is hack into the nuclear power plant.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's her tech for the week. We did ignore Ianto for most of the
Yes,
episodes.
that we did. Ianto, still a nothing character. Kind of. Not really. Not
He's going to
really.
have more room to
No,
grow.
he's really not, but he's just the most nothing of them. Of them all. So, did you have any sins for Gwen this week? Because I didn't until I thought of one that was probably a pretty good one.
Do tell.
So at the end, she says, like, I don't know how I'm going to go on, right? Kind of expressing envy towards those who weren't able to go on, like Tosh and Owen. Yeah, I mean, that's a stretch and also just a joke, I guess. But hey, she didn't have any others, so we have to throw one in at least.
I guess. Yeah, sure.
You're not safe anywhere, Gwen. Even if you don't commit any sins, we'll still pin one on you.
Wow, we're such great podcasters. We're such good judges of character. How much is this going to affect Jack? I think a whole freaking ton.
Yeah, if any.
Like he was crying at the end.
Yeah.
Like actually crying when he was putting away Owen and Tasha's stuff.
Yeah. And not to mention when he was whatever he was doing to Gray, knocking him out. And it's this entire thing obviously that affected him, but probably what affected him most was just finally reuniting with the brother that he'd been looking for a long time and never gave up hope on, and realizing that his brother hates him.
Mm-hmm.
And even when he forgives Gray for hating him, he's still like, nah, man, I still hate you.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm not going to give you the
absolution, I think is what he says. Yeah,
absolution. Thank you. That you want. And he just has to be okay with that. And so it's going to be rough for Jack moving forward if they even acknowledge any of it, which I don't see how they can't. Like, I don't see how they could go into the next episode or even next season without acknowledging the absence of Tosh.
I think they'll acknowledge that. They might even throw in a nod to Gray, but I don't think it's going to be a big thing.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think we're just going to move on from here, as we kind of stated at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, well, from that, I actually don't have much more to talk about. This, we did retrospectives for Tosh and Owen, and kind of at the same time did a season retrospective because this is a season finale. Plot twist. So, pretty much nothing else for me to say.
Yeah, I don't think we got any emails, or at least not ones that we would read.
No, I don't believe in emails. Just double checking. Doesn't look like any emails this week, no.
We did get a comment on Facebook from RG. This one is on... which one is it? Oh, it's on Adrift. So RG says, this is one of my favorites. Love the twist, and the sight of the young man not being able to stop screaming is heartbreaking. Definitely. Yeah, that's it is one. It was one of the best episodes this season. I know we didn't really do what we kind of normally do for season retrospectives here, and I don't think we're going to now, which is rank all of the episodes. But I'd say Adrift is probably my favorite.
Yeah, I think I would have to say so too. The second half of the season was just hit after hit, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think Adrift was probably, the high of the and it just goes to show you, like, the stuff with the episodes where they just kind of completely ignored the Gray stuff and the episodes that felt like they were just another adventure for Torchwood to go on were probably the better ones.
Yeah, I mean, everything from basically from Reset onward, the second half of the season is just, to me, great. Not to say that the first half isn't, the first half, Adam was an interesting episode. Meet, where Reese learns about Torchwood, but just like with Reset, when Owen dies, through Owen's resurrection, and then just, we've got From Out of the Rain, Adrift, Fragments, Exit Wounds, which is written by Chris Chibnall, again, future showrunner. Like, these 3 episodes in a row are just I think for all the nonsense we gave Exit Wounds, I still think it's a pretty good wrap up of the plot threads that were left this season.
Yeah, so I know we're at the end here, not to drag it out too much longer, but which would you say was better, season 1 or 2?
I think, not making a subjective claim on better or worse, I think that for me, I enjoyed season 2 more than season 1.
Yeah, I agree.
And, I just think the reason for that is that in season 2, everybody was a more fleshed out character. We got more backstory. There was more focus, more even focus on all members of the Torchwood team instead of just on Gwen. Not to say that focusing on Gwen is bad, just that I always wondered, what about everybody else? And a lot more experimental scripts in season 2. Just overall, I liked it better. So that's my final thought on the season, on the episode, and everything else.
Yeah, same here.
To answer the obvious question at the end of the episode, we'll not be doing season 3, which is 5 episodes, as one episode. I know it's one story told over 5 episodes, basically. But we won't be doing it as one episode. We'll be doing it one episode per one episode, just for clarification purposes. So with that said, if you would like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctor@decadavevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Torchwood. Jack, Owen, Tosh, Ianto, Gwen, the last time that this team is together. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Triple Play, Spotify, Google Play, and every other podcasting platform at Trust Your Doctor. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us on Twitter at TYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. And next time we're going to be watching Children of Earth Day 1. But until then, the end.